Ladies and gentlemen, over the last several weeks, I've been hearing how people were not voting for Joe Biden, but will vote for Donald Trump. So let me take you down a walk on memory lane. Donald Trump said, despite all of the criminal cases that he's going through right now, he is still very pro police. And Donald Trump is against getting rid of qualified immunity. He also said this while he was in office. So just understand this man believes more police need to be hired for the streets. So let's get into it. Trump pushes pro police agenda with big exception his criminal cases. So, he can push all of that aside and still be very much pro law enforcement. Former President Donald Trump has spoken very highly of police officers who use aggressive force on the job. For years, he has pointed an unwavering support for local law enforcement, presenting himself as law and order, except for when it comes down to him. When it comes down to him, he's looking for the courts to let him have immunity from the law. I just find that interesting. So he considers himself the law and order candidate who would help the police tackle violent crime. But now, as Trump campaigns again for the White House, he has added a new promise to his speeches on the trail. So he says, ladies and gentlemen, on the campaign trail, to indemnify police officers and protect them from financial consequences of lawsuits accusing them of misconduct, right? So, isn't that what he's saying? He is keeping qualified immunity in place. So, you can't sue these police officers for misconduct. He's letting you know. We're going to indemnify them so they don't lose their wife, their family, their pension, their jobs, he said during a speech in New York. Legal experts say Mr. Trump's proposal, which he first raised in an interview in October and has floated 5 times in the month of December, would have little effect or would largely enforce the status quo. So if Trump gets in office, he's letting you know everything is staying in place. And if anything, he wants more police officers on the street. And he absolutely is not getting rid of qualified immunity. So I would love to hear from you folks that are very much for Donald Trump, because at this point, if you're for him, then you're for qualified immunity to stay in place and you're for more cops to be on the street to harm us. So, police officers in most jurisdictions are already protected from being held financially responsible for potential wrongdoing. So, no matter what they do, wrong, inappropriate, or just straight up murderous on the street, Donald Trump is all for protecting them financially. They also benefit from a legal doctrine that can shield officers accused of misconduct from lawsuits seeking damages. So he doesn't want you, the public, especially us in the Black community, to have the ability to seek damages for loved ones that we have lost. He's letting you know. He's telling you. Since entering politics, Mr. Trump has also pledged his allegiance to the police as a way to attack Democrats, accusing them of being more concerned about progressive ideas than public safety. For decades, he has batted down calls for police reform, arguing that such changes hinder officers from using aggressive crime fighting tactics. His promise to indemnify officers also reveals a contradiction at the heart of his current campaign. Even as he proclaims his steadfast support for rank and file officers, he has been raging against federal and state law enforcement officials who have led the four criminal cases against him, resulting in 91 felony charges. Two Capitol police officers were injured during the insurrection on January 6, 2021, have sued him, accusing him of inciting violence. And Colorado Supreme Court ruled this week that there was enough evidence, like back in December, but then they changed their mind. They were going to take Trump off the ballot and then they changed their mind. Those realities have not stopped Trump from courting the police, meeting with law enforcement groups on the trail, and posing with officers who are part of his motorcade. He and his aides often post photos and videos of their interactions on social media with law enforcement. So, this should tell those of you that are on this Trump bandwagon, switch from Biden and vote for Trump. Trump is not about to give you a crime bill. If he is talking about ramping up police, keeping people from suing the police for misconduct, and refusing to get rid of qualified immunity, you can best believe under a Trump administration, just like the Joe Biden administration, there will be no crime bill for us. I'm just telling you, because I'm just hearing a lot of chatter about switching over to Donald Trump. Donald Trump has not even offered an agenda for your vote. Why are all these melanated people diving from one side that won't address your issues to another side that won't address your issues? I'm just asking. I'm just asking you. So, last month, during a speech on a Sunday in Nevada, he proudly told the crowd that he shook so many hands of policemen before arriving. Later, when he promised to indemnify officers, he called them out. All those policemen that were shaking my hand back there, you better be listening. Mr. Trump frequently criticizes Democrats as too critical of law enforcement. He conjures up images of big cities as lawless and unsafe, laying the blame on liberal politicians who calls for police reform. He says have deterred officers from carrying out their duties. That absolutely is not true. As long as they got qualified immunity, they're not afraid to shoot you unarmed, lie about it, falsify police reports, put innocent people that never committed a crime in jail. See, that's why they're not afraid to do it, is because of that qualified immunity. So the police, he has argued in recent speeches, are being destroyed by the radical left. They're afraid to do anything. Mr. Trump said recently, they're forced to avoid any conflict. They're forced to let a lot of bad people do what they want to do because they're under a threat of losing their pensions, losing their house, losing their families. You know what? They're not losing any of those things because as long as qualified immunity is in place, they're not losing anything other than a job. That's it. Very few go to jail. They lose a job. But legal scholars have studied the issue and say that police officers are already largely shielded from personal financial consequences when it comes to lawsuits brought against them. Exactly. Exactly. Look at Derek Chauvin's situation. Derek is in jail. They are paying out $9 million for all of the misconduct he did on people out in the public. They're not taking it directly from Derek Chauvin. They're getting that $9 million from taxpayer money. There are no financial consequences being put on Derek Chauvin. And that's the way Trump wants it. The idea that officers need indemnification is frankly absurd, said Alexander A. Rennert, a professor at the Benjamin N. Cardozo School of Law in New York, because they already have it. And he's right. They already have those protections. I don't know what Donald Trump is talking about. When have we ever heard a story of a cop losing his home, his bank account, losing everything because of his conduct on the job? That is unheard of. That's unheard of. But, Trump is the typical lying politician. That's what you can expect. So, in the case of policing, many state and local governments have laws which they agree protects police officers from lawsuits. In other cases, police unions obtain all types of agreements as part of their bargaining to get these cops out of everything. So, ladies and gentlemen, very few of these cops get hit with lawsuits. A lot of times it is your taxpayer dollar that's settling many of these cases out here. And Trump already knows this. He knows this already. So, ladies and gentlemen, under a legal doctrine known as qualified immunity, someone who accuses police of using excessive force or discriminating against them must not only show that misconduct occurred, but also generally be able to cite a closely similar previous case in which officers were held responsible. Critics say that qualified immunity offers blanket protection that prevents officers from being held accountable. Policing groups say these protections are necessary to keep officers from being so worried about personal liability that they fail to do their jobs. Well, in my opinion, they wouldn't be worried about personal liability if they weren't out here doing all kinds of things they know it's wrong, but they also know they can get away with. So, Mr. Trump has long expressed staunch support for qualified immunity for police officers, especially when he was still in office in 2020 and he was running for reelection. He said on a few occasions that he was not for getting rid of qualified immunity. Trump said that himself. In 2020, during his reelection bid, when the nation was racked with protest after the murder of George Floyd, several major police unions endorsed him during that campaign. Yeah, because Trump made it clear that these cops would not face any consequences for the things that they have done. Yeah, of course, he always had the police endorsing him. And guess what, y'all? The police are overwhelmingly supporting Donald Trump. So if you are a melanated brother or sister and you have decided to switch your vote from Biden to Trump, please explain why in the comment section you can do this knowing that Trump is also not giving a crime bill. He's not going to do away with qualified immunity, and he wants more officers on the streets. And we know what those more officers are for. They're for us. Tell us why you feel you can overlook all of that and still vote for Donald Trump. I'm just asking. I'm just curious. I know we got the immigration situation, but it's a lot more that we're dealing with than just immigration. So just tell us how you can still vote for Donald Trump, knowing how we get treated by police. And it's nothing for them to just shoot us over the most minute thing. It's nothing for them to jail you when you didn't commit a crime, and nothing for them to shoot you unarmed. Just let us know in the comment section. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. And white people, we already know what your opinion is. It's like a nothing burger for you to put stuff there. Peace, family.